All right, now what I'd like to do is take a look at the adjustments that we'll want to make based on the season or going to level production from seasonal production. So I'd like to go back to the case, and actually let's go to exhibit. We're going to start with the income statement exhibit, and what I'll do is I'll go to the case and I'll kind of go back to those numbers that we just pointed out recently. So again, they believe they're going to save $480,000 by eliminating overtime premiums and reducing maintenance costs. They also believe that they're going to save $600,000 by reduced hiring and training costs. So that's going to have an impact on cost of goods sold, which will ultimately be 60% of sales. Okay, let me just sort of show you why this makes sense, and then we'll later deal with these storage and handling costs. That's actually going to drive costs higher, but I will deal with that in another lecture. So let's just make this adjustment right now. So let's go back to our pro forma income statement. What I'd like to do at this point is I'm going to go down to Exhibit 2 and I'm going to right click on my mouse or on my keypad, and I'm going to insert a new worksheet. So I'll just simply say OK. And what I want to do with that is I want to rename that Exhibit 2, and I'll just call this LVL. This will be sort of my level production worksheet. I'm just going to move this over here. And so now I'll take Exhibit 2. I will click in the upper left-hand corner, and then I will right-click on my mouse pad, and I will left-click copy, and that will allow me to copy my, and then I'll again click in the upper left-hand corner, and then I will right-click on my mouse or keypad and then paste that in. So now I have my pro forma income statement. Maybe we'll go up and just change this to level now, so I know that this is the level production schedule. And maybe just I'm going to increase the size in the lower right hand corner just so it's a little easier to read. All right, so now what's going to happen is we have to recognize that the cost of goods sold is going to decrease by about $1,080,000. Okay, so let's just put that number in there. That's the $600,000. This will be our check figure plus $480,000. Okay, and that will mean that our cost of goods sold will decline to approximately $10,800,000. They also told us that that will represent 60% of net sales. So once we're done with this, we'll see if that makes sense or not. But that's the 1080 that we talked about. So what I'm going to recommend you do is go down here at the bottom, maybe in cell 22, and I'm just going to say COGS percent sales. Okay, that will allow me to say I have 60% of sales. That was the assumption we were making. If you go back to the case of 60% is going to be the new COGS. So when I do this now, I will go up to January, for example, and instead of it being 66% of sales, which is what it was originally, I'm going to now reference B22. By the way, I'll put $2 in front of that, so I will anchor my calculation to that, or my reference to that, excuse me, and I'll pull that across. And now you'll notice, now this isn't really meaningful anymore, but if you remember our original number, if I add the 1080 to the 10,800,000, I will get that 11,880. If you want to check back to, we'll go back to the original exhibit, look for this number. It was 11,880,000 right here. So we've made the adjustment now for the lower cost of goods sold, again tied to the lower maintenance and hiring costs as well as the reduction of overtime. So this is one of the big benefits of going to level production. All right, at this point I will take a break and we'll come back to look at the effect on inventory.